For an entire generation, Eddie Murphy wasn't just a comedian or a movie star, he was a feeling. His presence alone promised laughter, energy, and escape. Whether through stand-up comedy that felt electric or films that packed theaters for years, Eddie became woven into American culture. Yet behind the confident grin and fearless humor lived a far more complex story, one shaped by early hardship, emotional endurance, and the invisible weight of expectation. As time has passed, Eddie Murphy's life invites a deeper look beyond box office numbers and iconic characters. His journey reminds us that extraordinary success often grows out of quiet pain, and that joy, when shared with millions, can sometimes be born from solitude. Today, Eddie's story feels less about domination and more about understanding what fame gives, what it takes away, and what truly lasts when the applause fades. A childhood defined by absence. Eddie Murphy was born on April 3rd, 1961 in Brooklyn, New York, into a working-class household navigating uncertainty like so many families of that era. His father, Charles Edward Murphy, worked as a New York City traffic officer and occasionally performed comedy, unknowingly planting the earliest creative spark in his son. When Eddie was still very young, his father passed away, leaving behind not just grief, but a deep emotional absence. Eddie would later admit that his memories of his father were faint, more feeling than detail, yet the loss lingered throughout his life. It shaped how he viewed security, family, and responsibility. That early absence became a silent companion, influencing his drive and independence. Even as laughter would later define his public image, the foundation of his life was shaped by learning how to move forward without something essential: foster care and early resilience. After her husband's passing, Eddie's mother struggled with her mental health and was hospitalized for a period of time. As a result, Eddie and his older brother Charlie entered foster care, an experience that left a lasting impression on him. For a young child, being separated from home brought confusion, fear, and emotional distance. Eddie later described this time as one of the most difficult chapters of his childhood. Stability felt fragile, and trust had to be learned early. During this period, Eddie discovered how to observe people closely, how to stay quiet when needed, and how to adapt quickly to unfamiliar environments. These skills, born out of necessity, would later become essential to his success as a performer. Even then, humor began emerging not as entertainment, but as protection, a way to make sense of moments that felt overwhelming. Discovering humor as a lifeline. Long before fame, Eddie Murphy learned that laughter could change the atmosphere of a room. He began imitating voices, cartoon characters, and people around him, often just to make his brother laugh. Those moments brought brief relief and connection during uncertain times. Humor became his emotional language, a way to express what he couldn't yet articulate. Eddie later reflected that comedy wasn't something he chose casually. It felt instinctive, almost necessary. It helped him cope, helped him feel seen, and helped him regain a sense of control. This relationship with humor never disappeared. Even as his life improved, comedy remained rooted in survival rather than vanity. Laughter didn't erase pain, but it softened it. Over time, this instinct matured into talent, then discipline, then purpose. For Eddie Murphy, humor wasn't an escape from life. It was how he learned to endure it. A family reunited, a child forever changed. When Eddie's mother recovered and remarried, the family reunited and moved to Long Island, finally finding a sense of stability. On the surface, life improved. There was routine, structure, and safety. But childhood experiences leave imprints that don't simply fade with better circumstances. Eddie carried memories of separation and uncertainty with him, shaping his independence and emotional reserve. He became observant, self-reliant, and deeply driven. While others saw a funny kid, Eddie understood something more complex about the world, that security could disappear and that self-expression mattered. Humor became both identity and armor. These early years planted the seeds of ambition. Eddie wasn't chasing attention for its own sake. He was building something solid for himself. Even in moments of laughter, there was awareness. The boy had found his voice, and it was growing louder with purpose. The class clown with a clear vision. In school, Eddie Murphy quickly earned a reputation as the class clown, but beneath the jokes lived quiet determination. He had an extraordinary ability to imitate celebrities and capture personalities with precision, instantly commanding attention. Teachers sometimes worried, classmates laughed, but Eddie knew exactly what he wanted. When asked about his future, he spoke of fame with certainty, not fantasy. Comedy wasn't a distraction, it was a destination. Still, confidence didn't erase insecurity. Eddie used humor to protect the parts of himself shaped by early loss. Making others laugh felt safer than revealing vulnerability. Yet his ambition was undeniable. Even as a teenager, he studied comedy closely, learning timing, rhythm, and presence. While others were still figuring themselves out, Eddie was already moving forward with intention, quietly preparing for a stage he believed was waiting for him. First steps into comedy clubs. Eddie's earliest performances took place far from glamour, in community centers and small comedy clubs across New York. At just 15, stepping onto a stage felt intimidating, but the first sound of laughter changed everything. Fear gave way to clarity. He traveled by subway to late-night shows, balancing school during the day and comedy at night. The pay was minimal, the crowds unpredictable, but Eddie stayed committed. Each performance sharpened his instincts and deepened his confidence. Rejection was common, yet he treated it as education. Comedy clubs became classrooms where he learned resilience, discipline, and authenticity. While others doubted his path, Eddie pressed forward with focus. He wasn't chasing instant success, he was building skill through repetition. Those years shaped his voice and presence, preparing him for opportunities that would arrive sooner than anyone expected. The SNL breakthrough and sudden fame. When Eddie Murphy joined Saturday Night Live, he was still a teenager stepping into a high-pressure environment dominated by seasoned performers. Initially hired in a limited role, he made every appearance count. His characters were bold, expressive, and instantly memorable. At a time when the show needed renewed energy, Eddie became its heartbeat. Audiences responded immediately, and his popularity soared. Fame arrived fast, leaving little time to adjust. Overnight, Eddie became one of the most recognizable faces in entertainment. With success came intense expectation. Every performance mattered. Every choice was watched. While the spotlight celebrated his talent, it also narrowed his freedom. Eddie later acknowledged how overwhelming that period was, especially at such a young age. Still, he rose to the challenge, carrying responsibility far beyond his years, while redefining what television comedy could be. Hollywood's success and the weight of expectation Hollywood quickly embraced Eddie Murphy, and his early films confirmed what audiences already believed. He could carry an entire movie on charisma alone. Box office success followed success, and Eddie became one of the most bankable stars of his time. Yet with that success came pressure. Each project was expected to outperform the last. The laughter never stopped, but rest became rare. Eddie later reflected on how fame replaced a normal young adulthood. Privacy disappeared. Expectations grew heavier. While he was admired by millions, isolation quietly crept in. Success became responsibility rather than celebration. He understood that momentum had to be maintained, even when exhaustion set in. Still, he delivered, time after time. The world saw confidence and joy, but behind the scenes, Eddie was learning how demanding constant visibility could be and how little room it left for stillness. Family, loss, and choosing balance. As Eddie matured, fatherhood became his emotional anchor. He often described his children as his greatest accomplishment, grounding him in ways fame never could. Personal losses, including the passing of his brother Charlie, reminded him how fragile life truly is. That grief shifted his priorities. Eddie began choosing privacy over noise, balance over constant output. Stepping back from the spotlight wasn't retreat, it was self-preservation. When he returned to projects later in life, his work carried maturity and intention. The urgency to dominate had faded, replaced by appreciation for craft and connection. Today, Eddie Murphy's legacy is secure, but his life is still unfolding. His journey reflects resilience, growth, and choice. Once, his laughter filled theaters. Now, it fills his home. And in that quiet shift lies a success far deeper than fame ever promised.